strength and grace and dignity are born in quiet places. What more graceful, what more dignified than the backwaters of an English river? On such quiet waterways as these, the tricks of the seas were mastered. As in the age of England's first Elizabeth, so in years more recent, the strength of this island people has sprung from the little ships and the men who built and manned them. Yes, little ships by now are written in Britain's history. A nation born to boats. Part of a deep tradition born of the sea and of the fields, laid down by the long-gone ancestors of such as he who still works at an ancient trade in peaceful places. For what more peaceful than Norfolk's 200 silvery miles of waterways? Here the budding yachtsman, and in Britain his tribe is rapidly increasing, can find his paradise. Time for all potential sailors to try their hands on the water, to stir to life that something that lies deep within the blood, a feeling for the water, be it salt or fresh, in all its moods. If not upon the ocean wave, it's at least a life afloat. But certain boring rituals, it seems, apply on land or sea. It's different, though, when a young Briton gets not into bed, but into his bunk. And a chap can speak not of brothers and sisters, but of shipmates. Mother's a bit of a problem, of course. Oh, well, let's call her Skipper. A very obliging one, too. Not many captains tuck their crews in safely. And now it's time to dream of ships and movement on the water. The scene is Cowes, Isle of Wight. Today, the key event is the famous Fastnet race under the auspices of the Royal Ocean Racing Club. 605 miles of rigorous racing await them. Down the English Channel, past the Scillies, and thence to Fastnet Rock on the southern tip of Ireland, around its roaring waters and then on course for Plymouth. Even in good weather, with the southwesterlies prevailing, the Fastnet is one of the world's most difficult courses. The last hours find 1,001 things still needing attention. Stores to be taken aboard, courses to be checked. Soon will come a testing time for men, ships, and all equipment. Flags to be stowed away, mast slides greased, runner sheaves oiled. Everything, in fact, must be shipshape, ready to give of its best. To quote the regulations, every competing yacht must be seaworthy and be fitted and sailed with proper precaution. If you should make a mess of it, there's the usual crowd of landlubbers to see you do it. Tension mounts by the minute. No false starts now. And they're away. Their billowing spinnakers have sprung to life to grace the Solent with their speedy elegance. But the coming days won't be as kind as this, so we'll come back later and see which way the wind's blowing. No shortage of pleasant breezes at Henley either. Hats seem to be nearly as difficult to handle as sails. It's not wind that matters here, but manpower with a vengeance. Since before 1839, when the regatta was established on the River Thames, this has been a mecca for oarsmen, where the finest in Britain can pit their stamina and skill against the best that the world may send. Here, competing teams from countries worlds apart meet in the healthy rivalry of sport. It's 0 hour, so come on now, line up that boat and let's get started. And they're away, only outdone in magnificence by the umpire himself. Out, in, out. The pace quickens. A rowing 8 is teamwork at its most dramatic. Every muscle, sinew, and thought concentrated to one end. For those who watch, a study in gracefulness and rhythmic beauty. The sweat and strain are over once again, and just to show that they've still some energy in hand, up and over goes the boat in the accepted manner. As a matter of fact, this happens to be the neatest and safest method of handling this valuable and fragile shell. Keeping pace with Britain's post-war interest in the sport of sailing, sailmakers are kept busy these days, and such terms as spinnaker, mainsail, ratsail, all the jargon of the yachtsman, in fact, are becoming part of the common man's vocabulary. The work of British sailmakers is in great demand, not only at home, but overseas too, where its quality has long been known. So too is the craftsmanship of British yacht builders. Just for the record, these days many yachts are built for dual purpose. Racing come cruising vessel, a combination hobby and a home afloat. On the slipways up and down the country, the sleek and lovely lines of yachts emerge under the loving hands of their builders. But all boats need loving hands to build, especially these boats with a dedicated purpose, the lifeboat. All in all, 154 lifeboat stations are maintained around Britain's 5,000 miles of coastline. Manned by a crew of 8, this brave little craft will carry 100, its watertight engines keeping her going even when submerged. With 78,000 lives to their credit over the years, who's going to count the cost? By day, by night, in fair weather and foul, they're always at the ready. All volunteers, unpaid. The captain, last of all, traditionally, leaves his ship, and Britain's lifeboat men have saved yet another crew. Little craft have their patron in His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, a trained sailor in his own right, and here accompanied by that doyen of British yacht designers, Uffa. The craft, Bluebottle, of the International Dragon class, and presented to Her Majesty the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh by the Island Sailing Club at Cowes. These are Flying 15s, a keel-class boat being built in increasing numbers and designed by Uffa, who cast an appraising eye over the Duke's own Flying 15 cowslip. In his workroom, Uffa presents the enviable picture of a man completely happy, lost in his work. And what more satisfying task could there be than to conceive, design, and ultimately fashion something as beautiful and lively as a yacht? It's Uffa's little joke, for no Jolly Roger was more jolly than Uffa aboard his own craft, Fresh Breeze. And a designer on his own yacht designs for comfort, hence the adjustable saddle for the man at the tiller. These are Hornets, created by one of Britain's growing band of young and venturesome designers. A feature is the sliding seat on which the crew sits outboard of the hull in fresh winds. And under these conditions, they're both fast and exciting. Like this class, the 505, they're suitable for racing in rough, open water. For in the event of a capsize, and who knows, they can be righted by their crews without assistance. If an Englishman's home is his castle, surely the same applies to his yacht. And if he chooses to wear his bowler, comment is uncalled for. Let's concentrate instead on the Firefly. It flits across the waters, light and graceful, for its mast and boom are aluminum. And like the 505, they're constructed from molds using laminated plywood, a wartime technique which has been neatly adapted to new requirements. Being very light and cheap, they're particularly popular with young people, and over 1,000 are to be found on Britain's waterways alone. He's watching small craft with a difference. It's not what we normally associate with the tranquility of Norfolk sailing grounds. It's the Battle of Britain trophy, competed for once a year. They certainly ruffle the peaceful waters and probably the tempers of any purist sailors in the vicinity. This particular one is designed with twin hulls, and the principles of aerodynamics applied to the hull of a boat lead to speeds far exceeding those of conventionally designed speedboats. And if you want to see what aerodynamics plus a twin hull can really do, Lake Ullswater is shocked to life as Donald Campbell lets loose his turbojet Bluebird to the first of her world record-breaking runs. The clock this time says 204 miles per hour. But there's more to come, and it looks as if Donald knew that Bluebird still had something up her sleeve. Now let's get back to the Fastnet race. Plenty of wind now, and here they come, all close-hauled, some well-reefed, or any of those other mysterious phrases known only to the yachtsman in his private world apart. No landsman can ever see things quite his way. Only to him belong the new vistas, the joy that springs from silent motion on the waters. The skipper's on the alert. His mind is fully occupied. She's going about, so look out for that boom. Now let out that windward jib sheet. The leeward slack taken in. It's time for calm precision under exacting conditions, and there's no room for mistakes. Yes, that'll hold nicely. Runner backstay tightened. Preparations complete. With prevailing conditions, the same for all, it's skill alone that can gain the vital lead. Now's the time to keep your head, and if possible, your feet. At all times, it calls for coolness, steadiness, a clear eye, and a firm hand. The skipper's at the ready. A lot depends on his judgment now. As again she goes about, he must hang on to that slim lead. Such maneuvers call for teamwork and split-second timing, for they're the essence of the yachtsman's art. And when he masters that art, the rewards are rich. The tang of water whipping in the wind, the creak of rope and billowing of canvas, the glory of a spinnaker well filled. Above all, a sense of unity achieved between man and the boat he sails. For an island people who have cause for gratitude to little ships, this inner glow tells a man that he's closer to his heritage. He may have only lately come to know it, but he was born to boats.